Hi guys, Super Secret Tech here, and I'm doing a Blender build, and I'm at about to hit 60. I didn't want to really stream it too much before now because I couldn't use my Soul Taker, which really makes this build feasible. Because without the Soul Taker, it's pretty hard to keep mana up, and you lose a lot of damage. Because like I was having to run 2 Parandus rings, and I was also having to, on top of 2 Parandus rings, I was also having to run Worm's Molt, and I was also having to run the Gold Run boots just to keep my mana up. It was pretty ridiculous. And so you actually get to see how the build works now. The other thing is about my particular version is I went a little more into block. So I have both these block nodes. I also have these block nodes. And eventually I'm going to go up and get this block node as well. So what I'm actually working on right now is fulfilling my highway to Resolute Technique. So for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 skill points, that's what I'm doing for the next few. And but I figured I'd give it a try. This is what I'm planning on doing most of the day today, is going from 60 to mapping level. You know, go ahead and clear an Act 2 and Act 3 in Merciless, and get to where I can actually start running some maps. I'm very interested to see how I'm doing, especially since my DPS is so good at 59, that it seems like it'll be a very high damage build. I'm doing 10,000 DPS at 59, which is pretty good. Some of my characters, I'm not doing that at 80. So, definitely an interesting damage-wise build. And the only reason I even decided to mess with this is because one of my buddies has something similar, but he doesn't have a Soul Taker. Well, I already have a Soul Taker because of my Lightning Strike tank. Has to have a Soul Taker for it to work. And so I figured, you know, might as well give it a shot and see how it works. And here's Putty. Just re-trigger that. The other thing is that's nice about this build is you can run it either with Dual Strike or with Cyclone. Cyclone does have more graphical issues for the simple fact that Cyclone forces a knockback, which affects the programming design of the game itself, which is fine for solo play as long as you know how to keep yourself desynced, or stop the desync. It's basically you have to type /OOS to do that. So Cyclone's fine for that part, but when you get in parties, it can really mess with the party. So keep that in mind. Like I have Cyclone just by itself, which is doing 1500 damage, which is fine for big packs. And then, like, you know, when you get a pack like this, you just Cyclone through real quick. And then when you go back to single targets, it's a really fun build. High damage, decent survivability. Right now, defensive wise, I have a 39% chance to block. And so it's definitely interesting to see the differences. And you know, the different characters that I played. This one's definitely a lot higher DPS. It's a little less defensive than most of my other builds. But it's definitely gonna be pretty high on the DPS scale. And so luckily I also have a pretty high rolled BOR. I am planning on going BOR setup for the simple fact that it adds 15 to block, which is huge. So there's another 4% node that I'm going to pick up, which gives me a, which will put me at a 43%. Then you add 15 to that, so that's going to put me at a 58% chance to block. With dual weapons. Granted, it's not as high as with shields, but you know, this is 2-weapon block. 59% is pretty good. I haven't decided if I'm going to try to go Stone of Lasav and have a you know, 58% chance to block, or a 50% of that is a chance to block spells or not. I just don't know. I'm not 100% fixed on that one way or another. It would probably be nice, but I don't think it would be necessary. So I'm probably not going to do it. I'm probably going to keep it where I'm just taking off the a lot of physical mitigation. I'm running Belly of the Beast as leveling. I have a 5 link, which works just fine for leveling purposes.
I almost feel sorry for these doomed sea
The other thing is you don't one-hit really anything because you're attacking so fast. It takes like 2 or 3 hits that you're doing within a second. So that's something to remember too. Like, it's not like, you know, you have a big slow weapon. You have a extremely fast weapon. So your hits are very different because of that. Alright, so that's Fairgraves area. We're looking for the boat. I've always found that the easiest way to find the boat is to tab up after I find the waypoint. Because the boats, you can see the big orange dot from a lot further away this way. The other thing, if you haven't figured it out yet with the Roas, if you run towards them, they don't charge you. So that's always good to do with a rare Roa or a unique Roa, is basically blitz them in the face and they won't charge you, because that charge is what deals a lot of damage, not their normal attacks. And this is typically what I will do. I finished Omnis on Cruel at level 53. Or 51. Then I went to the ledge, and I stayed at the ledge till 59. The first couple of levels I normally don't try to even attempt to kill the boss. Then after you get to like level 53, you can start killing the boss and do full clears. It normally takes a couple of minutes to do full clear, and you normally are getting like 10 to 15% experience until you hit 59. Then once I hit 59, I start starting at the very first quest, and I do just the quest chain and Merciless. I only do that for Merciless. It's not really worth it any other time. I know some people rush straight through to Fell Shrine from the ledge and get up to 65, then go back and do everything. But you start to get really low on skill points if you do it that way. Plus, I'd rather level in maps, and especially when I'm doing the kind of damage that it's okay to map with. It seems like a much easier plan of attack. So here, hopefully around 65 to 66, I'll start running maps. Hopefully some of my buddies will be on by then, and we can maybe do some Cowards Trials or something like that. If all fails, I'll just purchase a couple of Cowards Trials and use them to level with. Because I think like 2 or 3 of those, and I can ding at when I'm close to the 65. And you're guaranteed a unique, which is nice in Cowards Trial, even though since it is a level 66 map, you're not guaranteed a good unique. So keep that in mind. But it's a really good way to spend like an Exalt, buy like 4 of them, and it's a really good way to get a couple levels and get several maps out of it, especially if you have a little bit of quantity. I can turn my map off so y'all can see a little bit better. As you can tell, this character is pretty much just flying through everything. Soul Taker makes all the difference in the world because you don't have to rely on keeping your mana up after that point. Now also, I'm not planning on speccing into auras, so I'm probably only gonna run like 2 to maybe 3 auras. I have to really look at some of them and see what's gonna be the best for my setup. Right now I just have Grace on, and the reason that I'm using Grace is so you can see what my mana does with a Soul Taker. Because it's important to know that this is, you know, no mana regen stuff. And so,
I believe in traveling light.
Okay, well, that can go. I believe that all flame used to take up more slots. That's pretty handy. Let's see what we got as far as gear. Yes, I just threw a gold out for a chromatic. It's worth it 9 times out of 10. I always identify them first though. And most of the stuff that's in my stash tab isn't level 60 or higher. So it's not worth, you know, you can't do chaos recipes with them. So identify them all and just junk them. You know, if you really want to do chaos recipes, go to Fell Shrine. Don't identify anything, just sell it all. You'll very rarely get something that's gonna really make up for not doing it that way. Okay, so So you have a pretty full stash tab, and I have like 2 or 3 rewards to claim. So I'm gonna go ahead.
For some, death is welcome. Mervale dwells in the caves.
Oh, guild stash tabs are on sale. That's awesome.
Fairgraves was a good man.
The warden's finally...
I have a haste leveling. Does not like I do have a haste leveling. Let's go ahead and get a haste
Managed to
leveling.
kill a granddaddy crab.
So on this part, I'm just gonna go ahead and run. You can also sidestep the rows too. Just an FYI, but I like just charging at them. That's that infamous scene guys talking to you about with Cyclone, unfortunately. And this area really slows you down a lot, so it's really not worth stopping and killing everything, even though it's a good experience. I have plenty of that for where I'm at right now, so I'm gonna go ahead and rush through most of this to get to the Mervale area, and I'll actually fight that stuff. The coves is just one of those areas. There's so much stuff that slows you down, it takes a long time to clear it, and the drops still aren't item level 60 or higher, so it's not really worth it. And at this point, because we're several levels higher, it's not a necessity that we stop and kill everything. You know, if something starts really dealing a lot of damage, definitely stop and kill it, but other than that, I tend to skip this area on Merciless. Now you can always go back and kill it later on, but for time conservation, it's not the best area to run. This area also, there's some themes to it, even though it's not the same every time. There's kind of a couple of generalized layouts that you'll find out. If you ever do a lot of Mervale runs, you'll start to notice that kind of stuff. Just because you have to run through these next two areas pretty quickly to maximize what you're getting out of them. The other thing that's very, very nice about this whole setup is that you can really get some quick clear times. On several of the maps. This is the area that you look for, by the way. As soon as you see those two bridges, you're in the right direction. Boss right at the first. Wow, I don't think I've ever seen Ambrosia that close to the beginning before. Kind of scary how fast I just pieced her. Silly Iraqi fish. Getting in my way. Here you're looking for the gold. As soon as you see the gold, you're on the right track. And it'll normally be up. This is actually looking like I'm on the right track right now. It'll be either to the left or the right here. Let's see if we see gold on the ground. No, so it'll be to the right up here. Or higher left. That is it. So you see the little golds on the ground, and you keep following that, and then there's Merveil's lair. Here, if you haven't done it before, always throw up a portal back here, because that way she can't hit you. I'm not too worried about it. I should be able to piece her, no problem. I do have a distilled frozen flask, which is important, because she can freeze stun you if you don't have enough resistances. And bam, there goes Merveil. So the exit's unlocked. Go ahead and go through here. Go ahead and hit the waypoint. And I normally go ahead and hit the way forward before I go back to the first town, because then you're just wasting time. The other thing that's nice with Cyclone is that you can literally just keep going forward in the map. Just keep going forward. Sometimes silly trees get in your way and you kind of have to kill stuff for a second or two. This is a really good XP area, by the way. That's why I'm kind of actually stopping to kill stuff, because there's just so many of these monkeys that it really pays off. The easiest way for monkeys, definitely Cyclone. Takes a lot longer to dual strike monkeys than it does to Cyclone through, because you're hitting so many of them at once. Always remember to pick up Master of the Arena if you're gonna go Cyclone. Even if it's just for love, it's so worth it. Hold on one second, guys. Alright, sorry about that. My roommate needed something. So, at Southern Forest.
I have seen.
We're now at level 60.
I
What?
Might as well go ahead and sell off. It's actually not bad at evasion for the level. Kind of top powered through this because my stash tab is looking all kinds of garbagey. But I really wanted to get this character in the map range today at the very latest. And depending on who rolls on, it's you know, if I get somebody that's good at the rush and I'm already at like 63 or so, I might go ahead and do a rush through, just so I can start really knocking out the levels with Coward's Trials. Some people rush too early. You really don't want to start even attempting maps before 63 because you don't gain good experience until 63. Is when you start finally getting good experience, and then you really start getting good experience if you can stay running the same level the map is. And I know, you know, obviously after 80 that stops. Hold on one second. And so, but yeah, so it's definitely a interesting build. It's fun to play, which again is great. Anything that's fun to play really helps. The fact that it does high damage and is able to tank to a reasonable degree. Like obviously you're not going to be the main tank of the group. Well, you shouldn't be the main tank of the group. You might have to be just because discharging and power siphoning witches are so popular right now that it's really a travesty. But this character is a lot of fun. It's stable, it's been around for a while. It's been nerfed a couple of times now. And this is my first attempt at one. I might decide to redo some things. Basically I took what someone else had already done. I decided that I wanted to put more emphasis on block. Because I've realized how good block is in this game. It's the best defensive stat by far. By far, it's the best defensive that you can use. And so that's important information to know if you are considering picking up Path of Exile, or and you haven't played yet and you're kind of looking around. This build is not cheap. It's cheap compared to some, but like if you really want the top tier stuff for it, it's gonna cost you an arm and a leg. Because legacy soul takers are very expensive. Non-legacy soul takers are very expensive. Soul takers right now are going from anywhere between 55 and 75 exalts, and legacies are going up to like 200 exalts. So like, just know that it's an investment. If you want to play this, I'm using a non-legacy soul taker. If I really like it, I will probably swap some stuff out and get a legacy soul taker. You know, but the key is when you're getting a legacy item is that, you know, you want to get the best rolls possible on it at a reasonable price. Some people will gouge you on it, and you kind of have to just sit around and be a unmotivated buyer with it is the key way to get a good deal. if you are an unmotivated buyer, you know, you'll tend to wait around and get a better deal. And the other thing is I might keep this Soul Taker to go to the Legacy just so I can use this Soul Taker and have it sitting on whichever one I'm not planning on playing on at the moment. That way I don't have to do gear swaps back and forth. Unless I just absolutely fall in love with this one. Because if that's the case, I'll probably go for the Legacy because it adds so much DPS. You can do it without a Soul Taker using blood magic, but your leech has to be really, really high for that to work. But it really, the build doesn't work nearly as well without a Soul Taker. So keep that in mind if you're thinking about building or thinking about trying it, that you have to have that Soul Taker. It doesn't work without it. If you're trying to build the same version that I'm building, it won't work without a BOR because of the block percentage. I'm investing heavily into that. I'm doing a little bit less damage because of that, but it really will not work out correctly at all for you if you don't have the block percentage. You notice I'm going a long way away to get Resolute Technique. That's just to help your in-game survivability. This guy started to hit hard. Maybe Cyclone's not the best choice of attacks against the a lot of blues. But it's definitely very entertaining to build. It's very fun to play. I do really like it. Of course, everything can change once I get into map range. As those of you that have gone into map range know, that builds can go from being the best build ever to just absolute garbage as soon as you hit maps. And it's unfortunate, but it's just part of the situation. You know, it's the way the world works sometimes, is that you have to, you just have to deal with it that way. And, yeah, it looks like Cyclone's not super effective against those guys. I might have to change Cyclone to a actual proper 4-link to make it work with this build. I don't think it's going to work with a single gem for very much longer. It doesn't seem to be doing as well. That's for sure. As it was. But you know, it's also looking at 1500 damage compared to 10,000 damage. Pretty significant difference. Where's the bear? I just want to kill you, Mr. Bear. I just want you to die so I can take your coat. But it's definitely fun to play. It has high DPS, pretty decent survivability. You'll notice that there's some areas where it does not work well at all. You know, and there's some stuff that we're gonna get through that block. Now I also don't have iron reflexes or anything like that yet. I've been working on keystones after I got to my block nodes. Or the roads, I should say, is what I've been working on, is the roads. um, because the roads is what makes the overall build, and because at late levels it's very frustrating when you're picking up straight nodes or intelligence nodes. Very, very frustrating. Whereas at late levels, if you're picking up, you know, stuff that actually matters, like life nodes and damage nodes, and, you know, extra resistances, things like that, which, you know, greatly impact your overall playability. It makes a pretty significant difference on how you play the character. Now the other thing is if I do decide to go to Stone of Lazav, I will have to get a 25% Rainbow Stride for the build to really work. And that gets me to 75% between those two, which means I would be sitting at like a 40% or 45% spell block chance. I'm not 100% sure if I'm gonna go that route or not. It'll really depend on what I see the weakness is. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to run the Dream Fragments, right? I mean, it's just an almost certainty that I'm gonna have to do that. I also might have to run Aiming's Heart, just for the simple fact that, well, chaos damage sucks. Even though with the new, I haven't completely read the way that they mapped it now, but I believe that it's a lot less overall horrible than it was. I really am interested to run a Spider Layer map since they made the changes to it, because now it's a DPM, which is damage per minute, which is a lot better than a DPS, which is a damage per second. Because it was getting to the point where like it was calculating a percentage of your life per second. And so it could literally kill you in a couple of seconds because that accumulates. And so you'd be fine because your regen would hold up for the first second or two, but then it calculates and it keeps compiling, and it just blows you away very, very shortly after. Alright, so there's that guy. I think I'm going to go ahead and get something to eat, and well, I'm going to go ahead and get to the crossroads. The other thing is I'm going to kill all the bandits, which will give me another skill point. I'm going to go ahead and get to the crossroads, then I'll port back to town, go ahead and sell everything, log out for a little bit, take care of some stuff. I have to go to the store. No, it's crazy, gamers eating and all, but I do eat, contrary to popular belief, and I will be doing that shortly, and then once I get back I'll be continuing my streak. Today, most of my day is going to be dedicated to getting to map range, and once I get to map range, then I'll really start to see how this guy turns out. I'll be changing the Twitch stream channel title to Blender Map Range once I get there, because I think it's going to be very important to have the actual, oh hey, here's how it works in maps. You know what, I'm going to go and kill Caitlyn. That guy always bothers me. No one likes Flicker Strikers anyway. If you're a Flicker Striker, it's true, you know it. I'm not very big into all-in builds. just for the simple fact that it's an all-in build. I'd much rather have a consistent performer, even if they're not top tier. Well, that comes from the, the same reason I like Resolute Technique with this kind of build. No crits, just Resolute Technique. Because that way I don't have to mess with the accuracy. I don't have to worry about missing. And it's going to increase my overall damage probably by a couple of thousand when I take Resolute Technique with this build. Because I only have 84% chance to hit. And that extra 12% chance to hit is going to be, or that extra 16% chance to hit is going to be pretty impressive. So you get to kind of see this build can get a little crazy sometimes. With just the amount of stuff that can get on screen if you, but you can always get out of it. Especially right now while I'm running a whole bunch of health pots. Health pots are really good for leveling, by the way, especially if you're trying to power level. Because, Granite Flask are good. Quicksilver Flask are good, Mana Flask are good, all those are good. But if you run 4 health pots while you're leveling and you have at least one that's an instant pop that you can hit 2 or 3 times and be at full life, it makes all the difference in the world, guys. All the difference in the world. I don't need charges. I'm not really planning on using charges other than endurance charges. And I still don't think I'm going to help Oak. I think I'm going to keep the point. So that was Craitlin's demise.